What's going on?
Going back to Rwanzi from yesterday, we've seen him in a couple of these multi-inning relief roles. Going forward, we've talked about how the rotation might be fluid. Could we see him potentially in a starting role, or do you want to keep him in kind of this multi-inning relief role for now?
Yeah, I think we could see him. I think we view him as a starter moving forward at some point. How we use him right now is kind of fluid. We think he's going to be able to be a starter to major league level and a good start to major league level. How we build him up is going to be important right now. So I think it's kind of fluid, but in the short term, I think it would be in a multi-inning reliever role.
How do you well, I guess I should first ask, are you kind of using that spot? Like I think of Crow and Contreras and even Yahure would be capable of like building up out of the bullpen when you need long relief. Are you kind of looking at it like that with some of the young guys that may not be here the whole season, but you want to build them up anyways?
I think you can build them up that way, and I think there's organizations that have done a really good job of building starters by having that multi-inning reliever role and building them that way. The other challenge that we have right now is just coming off a shortened spring training. No one's really built up, so making sure that we continue to get multiple innings for a lot of guys.
And obviously, Ronzi pitched well. Obviously that's an understatement. Pitched really well last night. Crow's been pitching really well, so it's worked for you. But how do you balance okay, well we need to get Ronzi some work, but he has to be on the roster, and we also want to win this game.
Right.
Balancing all this stuff.
Well, I think that is the fine line that we do balance, and some of that comes off how they pitch, and because Rowe pitched well last night, it makes it really easy. He's covering 6, 7, and 8 innings, but that is the fine balance when you have guys throwing multi innings, and you're basically doing two things. You're going out to win the game, and you're still developing their repertoire or their ability to be stretched out.
This probably applies more to just Crow and maybe Peters here, but how do you balance if you're getting 2 or 3 really good innings from the guy and be like, well, maybe he's earned that starting job, but man, 2 or 3 zeros in the 6th through 8th is pretty damn good too.
Right, and I think that's something that we're, hopefully we are challenged with. Hopefully we're challenged with making the decision of when those guys pitch. The one thing that we've told our group is coming off Justin's point, it's going to be fluid. You could find yourself in different roles. It could be a situation where all of a sudden we throw an opener in front of one of the guys that have started one of the rounds through, or one of these other guys starts and pitches 3 innings and then they come in the backside. So I think it will be something that's very fluid moving forward and something that we're continually talking through.
How do you feel about using the Pitchcom device with your catchers and pitchers and infielders? I think there's an outfielder using it. How's that worked for you guys for the first week?
I like it. I mean, I think it works well. I think it is doing what it's supposed to do. Really the only challenge we have with it is when relievers come in the game, making sure they get it on in a timely fashion. But in terms of how it's working, I think it's been outstanding.
We talked a lot about Roberto in regards to how he can help this young staff, but he's also been pretty damn good with the bat to start. Just what are your impressions of the at-bats that he's been taking, as well as the catching responsibilities?
Yeah, really good swings. I think that's a credit to him and Andy and Christian. They worked really hard when Roberto got here, number one, on their relationship. And I think Andy and Christian dove back into when Roberto was having consistent at-bats. And, if you go back into probably his last 3 or 4 games of spring training and watch the sequence of at-bats and how hard he was hitting the ball, it started then, and I think he's carried it into the season, the beginning of the season.
I wanted to ask you back about that Pitchcom with the. Are there any things that you worry about as far as the infielders tipping off the pitches because they know what's coming, or in terms of there being a mix-up in communication, if they have to kind of mix using signals and the Pitchcom device?
Yeah, the first part of that, not really, because middle infielders especially, should be watching pitches anyway, and they should know what's coming because they know the sequence of signs. Even when we had the sequence in the hats, they knew where we were at and what was going on, so they should know the pitches. So it doesn't concern me. And as much movement as there is right now with shifts, it really doesn't concern me. And then the second part of it, the only thing that would concern me is if sinker and slider started to blend together, if you could hear it, maybe weather conditions, wind or rain, but we haven't had that, come up right now because it works fluid. I mean, it's in English, it's in Spanish, so it's fine.
Should we hit you up for a Shelty shirt for Jackie Robinson Day? Or
Breaking barriers. This is for Major League Baseball, but I think it's a cool one. And if for as long as we've been around, being able to wear 42 today, I think is special. And it's special not only for what it means on the field. I think for the Jackie Robinson Scholarship and the foundation and the amount of money they raise. I mean, all of our guys are going to wear 42 today. That money, they're going to be auctioned off on Pirates.com. All the money is going to be donated. So today's a special day. I mean, we talk about days that should be holidays. I think you guys know how I feel about that with opening day. 42 day should be. 21 day also should be. But, 42 days is a special day. And I can remember the first time, I was in the big leagues when Griffey started the initiative and how it's grown from there. And just to see, this morning on TV, what they were doing with it and the people that were out, it's a special day for a lot of guys, and it should be, because Jackie broke barriers, for players now. And I think one of the things, and we talked about this last year, was really special to me is I worked with Don Zimmer in Tampa, and he played with Jackie. So to be able to sit in the room and listen to, it's not coming out of a book, it's not coming out of anything, it's talking to a person that was in the dugout with him, in the clubhouse with him, on the trains with him. That's impactful, and that time with Zim was really impactful for me with how important Jackie is to our game.
Any good Zim stories you want to share?
I got a lot of Zim stories. I don't know if I can share most of them, but I learned a lot of baseball from Zim. I think the one thing I learned from Zim, and I learned this when I was managing in rookie ball for the Yankees, is he said, never apologize for what you're doing as long as you have a reason for doing it. Whatever you want to do during the game, do it. Just make sure you have a good reason. And then he also told me, you never have to explain the reason to you guys.